guys? Paramoto here. How are you guys doing today? Today I am doing amazing, and I hope you guys are too. I got kind of a follow-up video today for today's Topic Tuesday. I made a video not that long ago about how Yamaha had canceled the R6 and was moving on to an R7. My gloves got flappy now. I need to fix that. The iconic and the classic Yamaha R6 had been axed, and there was supposed to be an R7 coming out. I was initially saying quite positive about it. I was just like, you know what? Like an R7 with like, you know, a reported like MT-07 engine, which would be like really torquey, parallel twin. Like a lot of people have really good things to say about the motors that are in the MT series. Like they could make this thing, you know, rev up, deliver a bunch of power, and also have a ton of torque. This could be an absolute game changer if they did it right. That was a very nice Audi. Well, it has seemed that Yamaha took the easy path and literally just dropped the MT motor right into the brand new R7. No changes, no adulterants, just this is the MT motor and now it is a superbike motor. What? Are you serious? Are you guys serious? You're killing me, guys. You are killing me, Smalls. What we have reported so far is the fact that MT motor is going to be making about roughly 70 something horsepower in their flagship middleweight superbike. 70 horsepower. The only word that comes to mind is they nerfed it. They nerfed the R6. That's the only explanation for it. They literally nerfed the R6. The R6 was and is still an absolutely iconic motorcycle. Like everybody that ever wants to ride a motorcycle wants to ride an R6 eventually someday. And now it's been replaced with this imposter, this impostori, and it's like, dude, why would you do that? Why would you replace this motor that is awesome? Yamaha makes a fantastic motor. Why would you replace it with the same motor that's in the MT? Like, that's not a superbike engine. So now we got this make-believe superbike masquerading itself as the lineage of the R6, which is absolutely ridiculous. Like 70 horsepower is nothing to see that. Like 70 horsepower is pretty good for a lightweight motorcycle, but it's not 100, it's not 110. The way that those bikes were going, they were probably going to be pushing 120 if they weren't already, you know. And there's no way an R7 with 70 horsepower, I don't care how badass you make the aerodynamics, I don't care how badass you make the chassis and suspension, there is no way that an R7 with the MT-07 motor untouched is ever going to be able to compete with anything else. You took this R7, which was always competitive. God damn it, I hate people. Anyway, so you took this this motorcycle, it was like a consummate competitor for Superbike World medals and everything else, and you literally nerfed it. You made it. There's no way that thing is going to be able to compete with the CBR, with the Kawasaki. Like, Kawasaki's always doing wild things. Like, oh, we're going to make a 600cc bike? Nah. No, we're going to make a 636cc motorcycle. And by the way, yeah, that 1000cc bike that we have, we're going to take that motor out and supercharge it and put it in something totally different. You know, it's amazing what Kawasaki does. And Yamaha went the total other direction and, you know, lowered horsepower and redesigned, basically fixed something that didn't need to be fixed. The R6 could have used an update, but it wasn't broken. It wasn't broken at all. There's no way that you needed to replace the entire motor and powertrain platform of that motorcycle. You didn't have to do it. I'm kind of saddened by it and also kind of disappointed in Yamaha. Like, Yamaha has always been known for making amazing bikes and amazing motors, and I don't know, they went the easy way. They went the easy way out on it. Like, there's no other way to say it, really. I mean, I know like the Euro 4 emissions and the EPA has really been busting everybody's balls, but at the same point, like, it's probably some other way to get, you know, the EPA off your back than totally nerfing one of your flagship motorcycles. I'm kind of wondering if it's gotten to the point with Yamaha that, like, in the range of things that they do, from make musical instruments to cars and motorcycles, which I think Yamaha's in the car market somewhere, maybe the R6 to Yamaha wasn't important. Maybe to Yamaha the R6 just wasn't nearly as important. You know, maybe it's like when you sell 10,000 of something in a company that sells millions of products, you know, it's kind of an afterthought. But they didn't really take into account that the R6 to a niche group of people like myself, and most likely you guys if you're watching these videos, you know, the motorcycle loving community, the R6 was an icon. It's just an absolute icon. It's like taking Led Zeppelin and making them do like, you know, like EDM or something like that. It's just not right. You know, like, continue to be a lover of the R6. Like, no matter what happens, if they never bring it back, if they never bring the styling back. I was a huge fan of, like, the second generation that they made in the 2000s. So not like the older style, but the ones that like Chase on Two Wheels had, and like just about every other YouTube motovlogger had. I'm a huge fan of those. Like the Raven Black R6s were amazing looking motorcycles, you know. And then they updated the platform. I was honestly not a big fan of the update, but you know what, I realized that, you know, you have to push forward if you're ever gonna grow. You know, like they said in Tommy Boy, in business, Tommy Boy, if you're not growing, you're dying, you know. And it's like, I understood that progress had to be made just for strictly survival purposes. It eventually grew on me. I'm like, that's a pretty sick looking bike, you know. That's definitely an R6 that deserves to wear the R6 badge. I kind of like how these companies do it, where the 600s are kind of the throwback, and then the 1000s are bringing it in, and then the 600s get brought back up, and then the 1000s make a jump and they change the design, get more power, or something happens, right? I'm a big fan of that. You know, I don't see how putting the MT-07 motor into the R platform is going to benefit the company in the least. Like, I don't know. A lot of companies are moving towards axing the 600 market, and there have been some people on here that have brought up a very valid point that it seems like every other year somebody's like, oh yeah, the 600cc market's going to be dead, or, you know, this market of motorcycles is no longer be made, and then it just kind of continues to march along. A prime example of that is the CBR 600. They've been saying that the CBR 600 was going to be no more for years, and they just keep on pumping it out. There's a 2021 model. If you look on Honda's website, they're still advertising the CBR 600 RR. Like, it's still there. What I think is likely happening with the CBR 600 is that they made so many of them and they sell, you know, a lot less than they were expecting, and they just have leftover parts. So I'm pretty sure a 2021 is the same as like a 2016, you know. And I had a 2013, a 2014 CBR 600 RR, and I also had a lot of friends that had older ones, and you can see on the motor that all the casing and all the actual work was the same. Every once in a while they squeak a little bit more power out of it, they update the plastics, but generally it was the same motorcycle for like 20 years. I just think that, you know, the 600cc market, the middleweight class market, is very cool. I like that market. It's very accessible for a lot of people, myself included. That was like, you know, the way I got into motorcycles is I saved up money, I put up money up front for my first bike. And then I've slowly been saving and recycling and upgrading until I got a Ducati Panigale 959. You know, that's the game that I've been playing. And for a lot of people, that's the game that they play too. They don't have $20,000 of disposable income. So you need that middleweight market just to be able to upgrade to something. You know, you don't need a 300 market and a 1,000 market. There's demand in the middle. And I think that middleweight market deserves some more love. It deserves more love, and it definitely deserves more respect. I was really hoping that they were going to do with that R7 is take the MT-07 motor, a good tried and true, great sounding motor, bulletproof engine, and I wanted them to make it rev to the moon. You know, I think that thing revs to like 8,000 RPM, 10 plus. Like, I mean, this is a twin, and I got redline at like 10,000 RPM. It's probably a little bit more. Like, it's doable. You could do it, and you could squeeze out that 100 horsepower, guaranteed. You know, they didn't really do any research with it. They didn't do any changes. You know, they could have taken like a lesson from like the car companies, where like, you know, like you have like a GM like 8-cylinder motor. That motor is generally the same as most of the high performance stuff. They just upgrade certain parts. So you could have had like an MT-07 motor, and then you swapped out bulked up beefier parts on a couple other things and put it into the R7 motor. Like, this is the MT-7 line, and then at this point it breaks off, gets upgraded, now it's an R7 making 30 more horsepower. Like, it wouldn't have been that hard, but instead we get this nerfed, lazy entry into the R market, and it's sad. Yamaha, you're disappointing, guys. You're disappointing. You don't know how important the R6 was to us. Like, even though I don't own one, that bike is important to me. I like seeing it. Every single time I see an R6, I remember, you know, starting motorcycles and be like, one day I'm gonna have an R6. I'm gonna be a good enough rider, I'm gonna have enough money, and I'm gonna go get me an R6. And now, you know, those days are numbered. You're only gonna be able to buy a used one if you're able to even find one for reasonable prices. And it's like, you know, it's sad. It really is sad. I'm gonna try to be positive, like I always try to be with motorcycles, and maybe one day they'll come out with like you know, an R7RR with the same motor, but just, you know, torqued out to another, you know, 3,000 or 4,000 RPM redline, and you know, just really make something special, and instead of just being this lazy company. Anyway guys, that is it for today's rant. I hope I wasn't too much of a bummer. I want to throw this out here right now. This is the first entry in Video Everyday June, as well as Season 4 on the Paramoto channel. There'll be a video every single day for the month of June. That is my promise to you guys. Please make sure to like, please make sure to comment, please make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you guys so much. Deuces.